What's going on, Bills Mafia? On today's show, we have some major Bills free agency rumors to discuss as two starters from last year's team could be coming back, as Buffalo might be open to bringing back both Rasul Douglas and Amari Cooper. The door is not closed just yet. We'll get into all of that on today's show as Alex Brasky came out with this. When Brandon Beane was talking at the NFL League meetings down in Florida, he says, Brandon Beane says the Bills have not closed the door on bringing back cornerback Rasul Douglas and wide receiver Amari Cooper, who didn't have the greatest stint in Buffalo down the stretch of the regular season into the postseason. But hey, maybe another year in the 7-1-6 could get him back on his feet and bring him closer to the player that he used to be. But if either one of these players are brought back by the Bills, you know we're going to bring you guys the content here at the Bills Breakdown. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel. 100% free. Give us a week. If not, you don't like the content, you can unsubscribe. We're over 3,000 subscribers now on the channel, so be part of the movement we got going on here on the Bills Breakdown. Let's talk about Rasul Douglas first, as not only Brandon Beane has said something about being open to bringing him back, the 31-year-old corner, but social media posts from Douglas himself have hinted that he might want to return and play with the Bills once again. This came in on Twitter after the Bills made Christian Benford one of the highest paid corners in the NFL. Said, CB, my brother. Now, listen, this could just be Rasul Douglas shouting out his guy, the guy who was opposite, on the boundary with him starting for Buffalo's defense last year. But he also, back in March, had posted this on Instagram, or at least reposted this from his trainer. Working out, just getting right in the offseason, wearing Buffalo Bills shorts. So he seems to definitely have an affinity for the organization and no bad blood as his contract was up in 2025. Could the Bills bring him back to this cornerback room that, let's be honest, desperately needs another boundary corner? You brought back Dane Jackson after he spent a year in Carolina, but do many people really want Dane Jackson being the 17-game starter, on the opposite side of Christian Benford? Obviously, Taron Johnson there, one of the better nickel corners in the NFL, but the Bills definitely have a hole at CB2. And there aren't a ton of excellent names really on the market right now in free agency. If you look at most of these guys are kind of past their prime. Kendall Fuller hasn't really been able to stay out there on the field. He's getting older. Stephon Gilmore's been in the league since I was in middle school. Mike Hilton, who's on the wrong side of 30. Rasul Douglas, who's also on the wrong side of 30. And then Asante Samuel Jr., who I'm kind of confused about, really hasn't been signed yet. Maybe he's just waiting for a big payday. But wells are drying up. Maybe after the draft is when he'll end up signing with the team. But these are the best 5 available free agent corners right now. And is Rasul Douglas, like somebody who's familiar with the system, familiar with the scheme, the best fit out of all these 5? Probably. I mean, the Bills probably don't have the big money to be given to Samuel Jr. So out of these 4 right here, I think Douglas is easily the best option for Buffalo to go back on. However, he didn't have the best season in 2024. 39 of 53 on when he was targeted. That's not necessarily great. Allowed a quarterback passer rating of 124. That's really good for the quarterback, not the corner. Didn't generate a turnover last year after previously, having seasons of 4 picks year in and year out, whether it's in Green Bay or in Buffalo. But, he did have 5 PBUs, did allow 4 touchdowns, so not necessarily the best in coverage. And his tackling game has slipped a little bit as he has gone on with age. Buffalo prides themselves on having cornerbacks who are able to wrap up and tackle in the open field, and maybe Rasul Douglas just isn't the best in that department before. But, prior to 2024, this guy was balling, man. You could see double-digit PBUs every single season, turning the ball over 4 or 5 times. He's able to force those fumbles, able to get his hat on the football. But maybe he's just not the best in open tackling space anymore, and Buffalo's not eager to bring him back. But if they need another corner, they could go with Douglas in free agency here as the offseason goes on. But with only a couple weeks before the 2025 NFL Draft, Buffalo could also go cornerback at pick number 30 or trade up or trade back a little bit. They don't necessarily need more draft capital at this point. They only are the sweet spot. The only sweet spot they're missing a pick is in round 3. They have 2 second-round picks. They have a first. They have multiple 4th-round picks and 5th-round picks. So, they are definitely one of the wealthier teams when it comes to pure volume of draft capital in 2025, but could they go corner at number 30? You talk about the guy Hairston from Kentucky is a name that's being floated around. Trey Amos from Ole Miss is another name that's, mocked around that spot. Maybe Will Johnson ends up slipping in the first round. So Buffalo will have some options in a pretty solid top-heavy cornerback class in round one. But, Douglas, if they don't go that route, Douglas could definitely be brought back. What do you guys think, though, about bringing back Rasul? Type S for sign, type P for pass on should Buffalo re-sign Rasul Douglas here in 2025 NFL free agency, bring him back to start alongside Christian Benford one more time on Buffalo's defense. Let's move on to Amari Cooper now. And this is a name that is obviously more high profile as one of the league's best receivers for the better part of a decade, Amari Cooper was. And like we mentioned it previously, Brandon Beane said that they would be open to bringing back Amari Cooper, and he had high praise for the guy who spent less than half a season really in Buffalo and a really lackluster postseason performance. This is what Beane had to say on Amari Cooper. He said, "I do think Amari helped our offense. Did he put up all-pro numbers in the games he was here? No. I think that's for various reasons. Again, our offense improved. We averaged 30 points. I think we were second in the league in total scoring, and you guys kind of know the mantra that was established this year by Josh and Joe Brady and with everybody eats. Adding him was not going to get away from that, but that does take a little bit of pressure off of Shakir, Dawson Knox, Dalton Kincaid, the run game, all that. So I do not regret the move. And let's be honest, the Bills needed Amari Cooper to kind of probably rise above that everybody eats and be an alpha receiver that Josh could just pepper with targets and somebody who could take you over the edge when you're talking about matching up with the Kansas City in the AFC Championship game. He just didn't at the end of the day. And to be honest, the whole 2024 season, whether it was in Cleveland or Buffalo, albeit Buffalo having a much, much better quarterback situation than the Browns did, it was one of the Cooper's, if not his worst season in the NFL. Only played 14 games. He missed a little bit of time. He got banged up, had that wrist injury, banged up his back a little bit. Beane was talking about those being factors for why he didn't produce all that much. But it was a bad season for Amari Cooper. Let's not even make a mistake about it. Had 12 drops. Did have 12 drops back in 2022, which is interesting that his hands have kind of declined over the past couple of seasons. But, man, this guy was a perennial 1,000-yard plus a season guy and really, really fell off a cliff in 2024. He doesn't seem to have that same ability to separate as he previously did. And when it came time for the big games to be played for Buffalo, he didn't show up really at all. Only had 8 targets in 3 games in the 2025 playoff run, 41 yards, didn't get in the end zone, wasn't really a factor there in the AFC Championship game when they need a guy like Amari Cooper to show his worth and step up and be that alpha wide receiver one. He just wasn't able to do it. And it's clear that he's just not the same player anymore. But could Buffalo go and get him on a bargain deal, something in the realm of less than $10 million a season? It doesn't seem like he has a huge market right now. And more so than him acting as that alpha number one receiver, could he act as more of a mentor to the talent that Buffalo has on the roster right now? Bills front office and everybody has been saying that they're going to need a big year or two out of a guy like Keon Coleman. Obviously, Khalil Shakir, wants to improve his game as he's gotten better every single season. Josh Palmer, though, that's a name that Buffalo brings in this year in free agency. They give him a $12 million a year contract, and he's one of the better route runners, more expanded route trees in the entire National Football League. I do think that Palmer could really, really benefit from bringing a guy like Amari Cooper back. Amari Cooper doesn't have to be tasked with or asked to go out there and get 1,100 yards. They could keep doing this everybody eats mantra in the offense. And I think that has worked well for them over the past couple of seasons, as they really haven't had, after losing Diggs, they really haven't had that alpha receiver. And even in Diggs last season, we could see the decline in his game come about. Josh Palmer could really take that next step if he has a veteran mentor like Amari Cooper in the wide receiver room. And then, having Amari Cooper as your wide receiver 4, I'm never going to shake my head at that and act like that's some sort of bad thing for Buffalo. It does feel, though, that Amari Cooper's return is probably less likely. Is he trying to come back into a situation where he's not going to be playing a ton of snaps? He's a gamer. He's a guy who still definitely wants to be out there on the football field a whole heck of a lot. So maybe a more wide receiver needy team for somebody at the top. I saw the Raiders being floated out there today as a potential destination for Cooper. Maybe that's more enticing for him to go back home. I guess home. He played in Oakland. They're in Vegas now. But maybe go to a different destination than running it back in Buffalo, where he clearly was the least productive of his entire career. I think that a Rasul Douglas return is probably more likely at this point. But you guys decide for me down in the comment section now. Pick one to re-sign. If it's Rasul Douglas, give me an RD down below. And if it's Amari Cooper, you want to give him one more shot in the 716, give me an AC down in the comment section. Pick one that the Bills should re-sign. And like I said before, make sure you are subscribed, because if the Bills do re-sign one of those two players, you know we'll be bringing you guys content here on the Bills Breakdown. We will have a video immediately on the channel. So for daily Bills news and rumors, and we're going to hopefully have some live shows in the future as well, make sure you are subscribed to the channel, youtube.com/BillsNews. We'll see you guys all in the next one. And as always, go Bills.